Welcome back to Cast Not Dead. This is a little bonus episode before we begin our magnum opus, which will be discussing Killer 7 in all its entirety. So we decided for a little short episode, we're going to talk about the spin-off light novel that takes place between Case 4 and Case 5 of the Silver Case, which is called, simply enough, Face, which focuses on Sakura Natsume, fresh out the academy detective, who pretty much is, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and wants to solve the crimes of the 24th Ward, and I'm sure she's totally up to the case and nothing possibly bad could happen. And she will remain optimistic. If this weren't a Suda51 game. Unfortunately for poor Sakura, it is.
Well, it's not a game.
And this is your host, CJ.
This is Infinite.
Johnny.
Oh well, I didn't know it was in order. Sorry. This is me, Johnny.
This is KamenSentai then speaking.
And I'm Quill.
Yes, so basically, and someone's willing to clue me if I'm incorrect, but this was written, I don't know if it was written after the game came out or during the events of the game. Did they release it as alongside the game or later on down the line?
I think it released in 1999, the same year.
Yeah, it might have been a marketing tie-in.
Let me look.
Looks like it might be a marketing tie-in.
I remember seeing
the author, Naoko Korekata. I'm not familiar with the author. They might be well known, but it's not the writer who did Placebo. It's not Suda. But the translation, we're going off a translation that FF Translations did, who's been in the game for a while. And it's like a 190-page light novel. And also Takashi Miyamoto did the illustrations, of course. So you can't have it without him.
And then to answer the question, it was released on November 4th, 1999, a month after the release of the game.
Nice.
So yeah, high chances
definitely a tie-in.
Yeah.
And light novels are huge in Japan, especially now with all the isekai stuff. So this is an original story starring Sakura Natsume, set between Kamui, Drum, and Life Cut. And basically, she is the daughter of one of the officers from the Special Tactics group who pretty much get wiped out during the prologue of Silver Case. What's the name of the group? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's a single
HCU?
No, the HCU.
They're like a Special Tactics group.
Oh, Natsume's
father's
group.
name is Daigo.
Yeah, Daigo Natsume.
He was in the Special Forces unit. They had a special word.
FSO or something similar. I don't know.
Something Special Forces.
Or something.
Like the Republic.
Like that.
They're called
the Republic. That's right.
Yes. Thank you, Google. So yes, Daigo Natsume is from basically the HCU, effectively their SWAT team, I guess you could say. They're called in to handle the really nasty stuff because, let's face it, the HCU aren't exactly SWAT guys. They're just investigators. And they're not all the best investigators at that.
Hey,
so
you be nice, Usabe.
Yeah, so if they have a guy taking hostages and have the place on lockdown, they're not going to go in guns blazing and be like, call in the Republic. That's too big for us. So yes, her father was killed in the line of duty while apprehending Ayame Shimohira. And he was an old friend of Tetsuguro Kusabi, who's basically the main character for all intents and purposes. And so it seems like as part of her attempts to learn more about being a detective, she decides to go interview someone who knew Tetsuguro Kusabi better than anyone, none other than Sumio Kodai, who's currently in prison for killing a lot of people during parade.
Well, he
didn't directly kill them.
Yeah, he didn't really kill them.
Conspiracy.
Yeah, he basically helped it happen. He's the mastermind, basically.
Yeah, he got arrested for conspiracy.
Yeah. I don't think they ever actually say who organized it, but I'm pretty sure it seems pretty clear Sumio is the brains of the operation. The other two guys didn't really seem like the scheming type.
Yeah.
I always gathered that he came up with the whole scheme and something he would do. Which kind of makes the event leading up to parade all the more messed up. Like he's kind of leading you along by the nose, and you're playing right into his hands.
Yeah, he could have killed you easily at any time if he so wanted to.
Yeah, but he
I-
just wanted the corporate dudes dead.
Yep. Oh, he was focused on that. Sadly, did also have to kill his other two friends, but
Eh, how it goes.
yeah,
Collateral damage, I believe, is the distinction term.
I guess technically in a way, it depends how you see it. I guess because Sumio go like, I'll take the fall for the prison rep, essentially. I guess it depends how you see it. Like, you want life imprisonment, or you just want to die now and not, deal with that bullshit.
I think they were like planning to die for a long time, but they'd rather pull off the revenge thing before they die.
Yeah, they don't actually say what he was sentenced to, but I think it's implied that murder is a capital crime in Japan, and I'm pretty sure you are put to death.
Yes, but
it's kind of implied, Phoenix, right, that when you're found guilty, you're pretty much dead. Because like, there's a character who's found guilty, and they talk about them like they're dead. Like, so yeah.
now,
Oh, it was
especially in real life, these kind of things
Phoenix
take a
Wright
lot of time.
in Phoenix Wright 3, there's a character who's found guilty, and then like in the end credits, you see his ghost. Like, it's implied, he got executed for killing someone. Whoops.
Whoopsie.
I got some pretty interesting info, by the way.
What's
I
that?
did some digging on the author after you guys mentioned that you didn't know what else they'd done. And you won't believe it. She only has one other book. And it is a book that takes place between Persona 1 and 2 about a female side character doing stuff. So it would seem that this is all she writes about.
Well,
So she
what
like
was
the
the side
author
character?
that Game Devs?
Yeah, she jumps into a game series and she writes side stories between two major entries about female side characters doing stuff.
Who was
So
the
she's
side
pretty
character for the
much-
Persona one?
And in both cases, it's a female side character who gets a haircut in between the two games. So the coincidences keep adding up. In this case, she wrote Megami Iban Roku Persona Shadow Maze, which is about Maki Sonomura.
So she's pretty much the fan fiction author that game devs keep on deck when needs a light novel tie-in. I just call her up. She'll write some fan fiction for us.
Yeah, those are her only two credits. There's no image for her. Looking her up just gives you other people. Seems like a...
That reminds me of...
Vanished.
I don't want to. It's even an alias
of...
point.
Maybe she has an alias. Maybe she's constantly writing isekais under different pen names now.
It's possible.
So I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the Resident Evil novels are all written by someone named S.D. Perry. And apparently she's a huge Rebecca fangirl. And all her novels are in some way about Rebecca.
Rebecca's great. Man, she just finds all my favorite characters.
Fan fiction about Rebecca, like
Sakura's
Calaban Cove or Rebecca's
female.
Sakura's my favorite female character in the Silver Case. Maki's my favorite female character in Persona 1, and Rebecca's my favorite female character in Resident Evil. I don't know what's going on here.
But weren't the Resident Evil books like non-canon?
Well, I think they are. I think they said, "Oh, well, we haven't said what happened to Rebecca, so you can do whatever you want with her. We don't care." I think as long as she's not like stepping on the toes of the games, like, oh, Wesker went on to pilot a giant war mech and blow up Africa. I don't think they care.
Rebecca killed Sadler at the end of Resident Evil 4. Don't at me.
Yeah, like we didn't do anything with Sadler, so we don't care. Go ahead. Like, as long as you don't mess with stuff that lines up with our plans. Oh yeah, I'm gonna write a book about Rebecca investigating a vampire castle. No, you can't do that. So I will say one thing, reading over this book, for anyone, it kind of reminds me of Silence of the Lambs. A lot of it is her just interrogating Sumio. It's just like, two clever minds kind of playing cats and dogs with each other.
Well, I haven't read nor seen Silence of the Lambs yet, so I can't really say much about it.
Yeah, it's about an investigator who's trying to find a serial killer, and she decides to interrogate a serial killer to try to get in the head of one to find out, what makes one tick, so she can find the current serial killer, which is kind of Silver Case in tone if you think about it. It's about, the contagious crime. So I think it's implied that Sakura is just recently fresh out of the police academy and she's about to join the HCU.
Yeah, she is.
She's still doing lessons and stuff like that.
So this kind of raises some questions about how she's getting so easily into the HCU. What's the word when you have a family member giving you the hookup?
Or maybe
I
because there's another
no,
specific
I think
reason.
no, I think she's just like a trainee at this time.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, I think
she was learning like
training.
autopsies and stuff.
Yeah, it's
But
still
still,
heavy stuff for training.
yeah, to be a trainee and then like next month you're like, well, you're already in.
I mean,
Yeah,
to be
welcome to
fair,
the
they found some guy
HCU.
with PTSD from the freaking SWAT team, and all right, you're part of us now. That's just what they do.
Okay, so yeah, let's say their hiring standards aren't exactly demanding.
Yeah,
Nepotism.
yeah,
It's
in the
recent
silver case, our main character just got in because some guy in the HCU is like, yeah, he's good, he can come in.
Yeah, the big dick.
Pretty much what happened. Some guy called us Big Dick, and then the boss was like, yeah, he's fine. Definitely no other reasons, not whatsoever.
Also, has anyone seen Psychopaths?
Nope.
Are we gonna talk about that here? About the recent
This is kind of similar to Psychopaths because she has a friend. I'm not going to spoil Psychopaths, but Psychopaths is also very similar to Silver Case, where you have crime being contagious and it's like a disease that spreads from killer to killer. And the main character of Psychopaths has a friend who's like not really into that stuff, and she talks with her about it on the side. And Sakura has a friend like that who she hangs out with named Kana, and she's like not really an investigator, but it gives me a similar vibe to that little side story in Psychopaths.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of recently something that Dreambow found recently. It was like some recent Psychopath thing, I guess. But it's just pretty much the silver 25th Ward look. It's like it's very
Yeah.
on a little too on the nose.
Oh yeah.
It's like wow.
Yeah, so Psychopaths is kind of like Minority Report, where a crime has been linked to your mental state, and they have guns that can scan you. And if you're over a certain determinant level, you can be arrested automatically. And if you're past a certain level beyond that, you can be shot on sight and killed. It's called a crime coefficient, I believe. So yeah, that kind of has shades of 25th Ward in a way, because like they kind of psychoanalyze people a bit.
And also, doesn't Psychopaths have a legit Kamui character?
Yes, he kind of does, and like kind of similar to Kamui, he has a thing where like being captured is all part of his plan because he's trying to spread his contagion. Hell, the
Just
Riddler in the new Batman movie kind of has that vibe too. You see him getting arrested, like you know that's what he wants.
finally, the Suda51 influence has finally reached Batman. Finally.
Well, it all comes around. The detective movie. So yes, she also does go to an autopsy room and she gets to witness the victim who was shot to death with an illegally owned handgun. And they're discussing the gunpowder marks, and she kind of has she has an interesting perspective on death. She didn't get to see her father. She didn't get to see her say goodbye to her father's body. They already incinerated it, and she didn't know anything about didn't know much about his death. It's
Yeah, they
kind of
said.
implied she might be having nightmares about it.
Yeah, and also there was a nightmare about another certain thing that is, well, certain other someone has nightmares about too in Silver Case, which was the whole shelter kid stuff.
Yeah, so and we could that I think we can elaborate on that when we get to Whiteout.
Yeah.
So she's studying forensic. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say we also have some Miami stuff like that. We also, I think, two characters from Silver Case in general three pop up here, which is Sumio, Tokyo, and everyone's favorite character, Natatagawa.
The
Yes.
man, the
Yeah, I think
legend.
if I recall, every chapter on Face is kind of like about a different character tying into her story, like just how she weaves in and out of their narratives.
Most part. Some characters also do come back, obviously, like the one doctor character.
But
Was he?
Sumio mentions that she needs to have darkness inside her.
Yep.
Was the
Which, to an
doctor
extent,
character the
is true
same
if you're going
as
to take them to work.
the doctor character? I'm sure he's the same one as the silver case one.
No, it's not.
No, I was just talking about how the doctor will pop up in this chapter and in some other
Ah,
chapters.
The one outside the hospital that they interview. I remember that dude.
Yeah.
You see him a few times throughout the game, don't you?
Really? Wait, that actually supposed to be a character? Like, that actually a previous character?
I
No one
think
just
so.
noticed?
There's a picture. I'm reading through chapter 2, and there's a picture of him right here.
Yeah, I
I
remember
don't
seeing that
think
picture.
it's him
Wouldn't it be funny? It's just a guy in the waiting room.
because wait, can I talk about the end of a novel or we'll get there?
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Okay.
Yeah, she seems to be kind of unsure about what she wants to do. Like she's studying forensic pathology, which if you're not, that's basically the study of dead bodies, like what the cause of death is, learning about basically when they find a dead body and they don't know what happened to them, usually call in a forensic pathologist and they'll say, oh, they hung themselves, they were shot in the head, they overdosed, etc. Very messy work.
Oh yeah, they gotta cut open some bodies, and I don't know how anyone can have the stomach for that.
And yes, we had an interview with a medical examiner in my line of work in crime scene class. And she told us that to be a medical examiner, they have to go through 12 years of school. They have to get their master's degree, they have to get their doctorate, and then after that, they have to go through 4 more years of medical school specifically for forensic pathology. So, not just anybody can do that job.
Yeah, it's serious because you gotta kind of have to know, because if you say something wrong, uh-oh.
Yeah. You basically someone's going to jail because of you. Their freedom lives or dies on your investigation.
Yeah.
But you can imagine doing that kind of work. You're going to become pretty jaded to death pretty fast. That's going to become normal by the time you're done.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Kind
like
of
Garcian said, feel no remorse to seeing a dead body. Just cold, rotten flesh.
Also, kind of reminds me of discussion in Ellie Noir about I think it was the second partner talking about man, we're just happy they're not the fucked up ones yet, because you think all of a sudden they're fine, all of a sudden they're pretty much gotta be fucking a corpse or something like that. It's yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, there's a certain level you reach before you start losing your humanity. And I think that's probably why Suda got out of the industry. In case anyone's not familiar, Suda used to work in a mortician's office.
Yeah,
I think he was he used to clean. He did janitorial work, I think. Was that what
no,
he did?
he was legit the Undertaker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he legitimately had to make the funeral, essentially.
Oh, wow. So he was like the funeral guy, basically.
Yeah, he had to put all the flower arrangements and stuff like that. He essentially was the designer in a way. Talk to people about how would you want this presented.
Basically, Suda is the guy from Mad Dog McCree who tells you what kind of coffin you want.
Pretty much.
Might have to cut you up a bit to make you fit.
And then yeah, that definitely would make you see a lot of dead bodies for sure.
Absolutely. And this is the line of work sweet little Sakura wants to get into. And she seems like a cool customer, but is this really the line of work she wants? Is it just because her dad did it? Or does she want to avenge him? Does she want to follow in his footsteps? Who knows? And you can kind of tell a lot of the show is her doing, the book is her doing fashion things and talking with friends. And it's very descriptive of her clothing. It does definitely feel like it's from her perspective. So they really wanted to be very fashionable about it.
Yeah, that's literally kind of one of the first chapters too, because Sakura is talking with an old friend of hers, and she's kind of talking about oh, come on, you can't just lose your feminine charm and stuff like that so easily. Don't toss it away.
Yeah, it definitely has a feministic ring to it.
Well, it's even very descriptive. When Sakura is in her house, they describe it they go really into detail, about her home, how it looks, where stuff is.
gray cotton and the heels of her flats.
Isn't that just like most
It's
novels?
very
True.
long. Not always. Sometimes they gloss over stuff like that, like, oh, she's wearing a matching outfit. Depends on the novel. But some novelists really like to go into detail about fashion, like, so a well-worn white cotton blazer over a matching coordinate. So it depends on the author.
It's like they're going down the walkway.
Yeah, basically. So the end of chapter 2, it kind of feels like it takes place during Decoy Man. There's a woman getting accosted by a stalker in a parking garage, saying he suddenly had to see her and he wanted to surprise her. And he's saying, like, is this supposed to be Kamui or?
Oh, the whole stalker thing.
Yeah,
You actually,
chapter 2.
The whole Jack the Ripper situation.
we get there.
Yeah.
Like, it gets explained. From what I remember.
Yeah, it does in the end.
Yeah, she feels like she's being followed.
Yes.
And yeah.
And
Which is another parallel to Psycho-Pass. I don't want to spoil anything in Psycho-Pass, but her friend starts getting mixed up in things too.
Essentially, at this point, if you played or watched Psycho-Pass or play Silver Case, just do the opposite. Like, you can watch Psycho-Pass or you can play Silver Case, then you'll probably like it.
You've probably seen all the main bullet points. Wow, that Psycho-Pass book really does look like Silver Case.
Yeah, it's a bit kind of a no.
And it's actually interesting, I should note, is that in Psycho-Pass, there's two kinds of police officers: people who actually work for the police, and there's people with a determinant that's they're criminals, but they're not quite high enough, and they let them work as enforcers, but they're usually kept in check by an actual police officer. And one of them is a police officer, and one of them is an enforcer.
I guess Gen Urobuchi's just a big Silver Case fan.
As well, he should be. So from that ominous note, we get to chapter 3, and Sakura is speaking with. She's at a firing range, and is learning how to fire shots, and she's finished her practical training. And this is where she meets Nakatagawa.
Hell yeah, the best guy around. Where he starts talking about like how essentially gun smoke is like cigarette smoke. Like, there's gotta be shit on you. You don't want to get that stuff on you. The smell never go away.
Yeah, and you're a woman. If you give off that kind of stench, you're not going to be desirable. You don't want to be undesirable, do you? Like, I can just feel the creep emanating off the paragraph.
It's like Sakura also just like, just wanted to sock him one.
And he has no chill whatsoever. And he just cuts right to the chase. Oh, yeah, we found a body. Her name was Kana. That was your friend, wasn't she? And she's like, oh, you didn't know? Oh, that sucks.
Dude, not the Tagawa. Yeah. I kind of love to hate him.
Slime ball in the game, but he comes across as a huge slime ball here.
But hey, there's sometimes kind of being blunt to the point ain't the worst thing in the world.
But it kind of feels like the author wanted to put it like, this is what guys like that feel like from the woman's perspective when they're being accosted by this guy and they don't want to be bothered. This is how it feels.
Yeah, especially in contrast when we just had a very lovely doctor get like learning, doctor in training be very nice.
Yeah,
especially with his love of pie.
Yeah, but to paraphrase Silver Case, are you falling in love with a serial killer? Because she seems kind of hung up on Sumio, which continues later on into the series, too.
Oh, yeah. The best cop duo ever.
Interesting? Yeah, so does she just have... Is she dealt with so many creepy cops that she thinks maybe the killers are less crazy than the police?
Probably,
which
to
raises
be honest.
A lot of questions.
It's kind of like that one. It's sort of like the mindset, like the killer at least admits who they are. A cop can, hide themselves a bit or like make
Yeah,
excuses.
the police have that veneer of they're trying to uphold the law, but in the shadows, they're even worse than the criminals they apprehend. At least with the criminals, she knows, okay, you're wearing it right on your sleeve, so I know there's no mixed signals here.
Yeah. It's also just kind of a case of, like, as Sumo even said, you kind of have to embrace that darkness. There are some cops out there who, and at least in this, especially Silver Case, they probably don't even have that. They're just thinking, like, oh, it's just for the better good. It's like, we're just doing good.
But to paraphrase Nietzsche, there's only so much darkness you can take before you start going crazy yourself. So there's a very delicate balance you have to maintain. So basically, she's trying to go. It seems like she's trying to solve the mystery of Kanda's disappearance herself. She probably has a feeling that the police aren't taking it too seriously. Gee, I wonder why. With Nakatagawa on the case, you're already thinking, you guys taking this seriously because you got this loser handling it? But then she gets to meet another character in the course of her investigation, none other than everybody's favorite boy.
Red?
Up close. Red Owner, Tokyo Hiroshima, the man with the silver eye. Great artwork, by the way, and the light novel translation was kind enough to include the art. We'll link the light novel in the video. It's a great read and a very good translation too. So he's following her, and apparently he has an intelligence network, and he's aware of her friend that was killed. And you have to wonder how good his info network is. And apparently they're calling this guy Jack the Ripper. Subtle.
Yeah. And his target is on like woman of age 22.
Just happens
this
to
is
be
a woman who knows how
Sakura's 22.
like, she knows how to use her wiles. So she's like, okay, you want information? Buy me a sandwich and some coffee.
A shitty sandwich, but a sandwich nonetheless.
Hey, she'll take it. So they start discussing it, and it turns out all the victims are 22-year-old women, which she knew about. And so the serial killer's definitely got a trend going. And the conditions have been spotless. They're too clean. There's barely a scratch on them, which makes me think of Dexter. If anyone's ever seen Dexter, where the killer is a police officer. Because they know forensics.
First season only.
Well, that's basically all you need to know. They tell you that from the first episode. It's about a forensic investigator who kills people. And I'm even thinking this when I took crime scene course. I keep thinking, if a criminal were to take this course and get a degree in it, they would be really good at covering their tracks. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Man, you're really good at knowing how people die.
Yeah, and also so if you know what a crime scene investigator does and what they look for, all you have to do is make sure you don't leave traces of that nature. Of course, they teach us in crime scene that everything. But apparently, the first principle of crime scene investigation is that every contact leaves a trace. So no matter how good you are, you're going to leave some evidence behind, unless you're, Parsi and Smith, which you're not.
Yeah. Not in the fantasy realm, you could get away, but not in real life.
Yeah, there's going to be something. You're going to leave your fingerprints somewhere. You're going to step on something. You're going to leave something out of order. There's no such thing as the perfect crime, especially with today's modern technology. But this is the 24th award, so.
Yeah. We're missing not the Gawa around.
Yeah, and it seems like their crime scene investigation is very impersonal, like it's corporatized almost. Like they very much go down the line and they don't really go the extra mile. That's the vibe I get. You see that a lot in 25th Ward too. When their guys come out, it's basically like the people from John Wick. When you call up to order food and they come with the truck and take all the bodies.
Pretty much. Kind of reminds you.
Dinner for 8. Thank you.
Or like in 25th Ward with Suki and Osato, such as what they do.
Oh yeah, we're like,
yes,
we fucked up, just kill them.
Yep.
Yeah, the correct. And they're so blasé about it, like kind of like Jules and what's his face in Pulp Fiction. It's just they're doing the job. So it looks like Kana was kidnapped from the underground car park, which is very similar to what happens during Decoy Man. So I recall the victim in Decoy Man is being chased through a parking garage.
Uh,
During
yeah,
that live action FMV scene,
yeah,
you
yeah,
see
yeah.
her running through the parking garage. And it also turns out Sakura is 22 also. Maybe that's why Morishima's following her. Maybe he's thinking she's going to be the next victim. And yes, this is a crappy sandwich. It's a convenience store sandwich, which is like the worst sandwich you can get.
There are airline sandwiches.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yes.
They're made out of that mysterious
yeah.
bread with
Not the
negative
same.
amounts of water in it.
When you think there's something worse, there's even worse out there.
Now imagine a convenience
Although
store
I
on an airplane. That'd be terrible.
Might as well
had
eat
convenience
dirt.
store food in Japan. Convenience store food in Japan is like fine cuisine compared to ours. Like that's actually quality food.
Yeah. I definitely have heard that different opinions on that sometimes. It could be great stuff, and then there's like, what the hell is this?
I went to a 7-Eleven, so I guess I was 7-Eleven in Japan is like an industry.
And a lot of fried chicken.
So that too. Speaking of nightmares, so she starts having nightmares about a crowd of children doing something in a dark place. And children's voices and Christmas trees. That doesn't sound familiar at all. Triangles, maybe? Pretty much.
Nothing like a shelter
And
or anything like that.
to the kids. And Morishima apparently is picking up on this. And that Kamui Fujiwara is being detained in a mental hospital. So couldn't possibly be him. And that's the end of chapter 3, where we realize something's not right with this girl. Chapter 4, so kind of vague who we're following here. It's like another person's perspective. It seems like it might be the serial killer. He's praying to someone like he's making offerings. And there's been no developments in the investigation. No word from Morishima. And so basically, it seems like if there's anything that's going to be done, Sakura's going to have to handle it herself. It's clearly
Right. Do we
Morishima's
see
not
the
much happy
diner?
about what happened to Aoi.
Sorry.
Diner?
Yeah, like was it a diner or something where she usually hangs out, like Sakura?
Ah, yes. There's the Shinami's Diner, which makes me think: is this the same diner from Good Looking Guy in 25th Ward,
I don't.
where Sumio hangs out?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
That is a diner that Sumio hangs out in Good Looking Guy, isn't it?
The one where
It
he
was Good Looking
meets
Guy, wasn't
the one where he meets Sayame.
it? The one where I think so. Oh, there's a picture of the diner here. Thank you, Takashi.
Yeah, I remember seeing this
I
picture.
love very nice artwork. He has a very distinct style. It's
Yeah.
very natural. Like his artwork never looks flashy. It's very distinct.
Yeah. I will say this one kind of has a bit of more. I don't know. For some reason, I get kind of a scary, eerie vibe from this one a bit.
Yeah, this looks like one of those underground places you see in Yakuza where there's no windows. You just go in and there's an underground bar, like 3 or 4 people there.
I like the sign that just says phone.
Yes, convenient. It's a very unusual phone. It looks like one of those retro 50s or 60s phones you would see in a phone booth in a train station.
Yeah. Japanese style, that is. Not like an old.
Oh, yeah. But like the old, it's like when you go into a booth in a train station. And then she sees a middle-aged man who stands out and who's acting unusual, and he wearing a knitted black cotton turtleneck under a tweed jacket. Again with that fashion detail. And the doctor, who was in a white coat last time. Second time she's run into him.
It's our lovely doctor.
Yes, and he's got this weird fixation on the pie of the day.
Yeah, he always likes sweets. He has such a big obsession with pies, which I kind of love. That was kind of cute.
Minato Sawaguchi. But at least he's not being as creepy as Nakajagawa, which is that's still a low bar, but
Well, as I said, like he just has a really big obsession with sweets. It's not really anything creepy towards women or anything. At least not yet.
yeah, it's unusual. He's creepy to himself. He's not creepy to other. He's not creeping on other people.
Yeah.
Slightly less harmful. Slightly.
And there was a
And then
cop.
she starts sharing details about her dream with the trees, and hopefully she never has to get a psych eval to become a police officer in the 24th Ward, because we had to get a psych eval just to be a dispatcher. So to be a detective, I can only imagine. Considering the type of people that made it into the HCU, I'd say their psych eval guidelines are pretty lenient.
They use a magnifying glass to check if you have a brain, and if you do, you are allowed in.
Yes. They just do a Rorschach test. What do you see? And it's like, if you've ever
As long
seen
as you are
space,
able to answer.
guns, bombs, blood, guts. Great, you're in. You start Monday. A butterfly. They look at you skeptically. Butterfly with a machine gun. Great, you're in. That's the army test they do in space to see if he can get in the military. And he has to see guns in every Rorschach test.
Jeez.
In the 24th Ward, I'm sure it's similar to that.
A
Don't
gun
worry, your
with a
overly
gun.
cynical mentor figure will be assigned shortly.
Yes, and see, there's this other character. I'm trying to see, Shinami. I'm trying to get a refresher on who that is. Is that the owner of the diner?
Yes, that's the owner of the diner.
Okay, yes. And I think Shinami warned Sakura not to date a guy like, not to date a guy like Minato, the doctor.
Yeah. Well, when it's like, what are you talking? Like, he seems fine. He's on just pie fascination. Just...
But are you? I mean, what metric are we going by? Are you comparing him to Nakatagawa? I mean, there's this other guy who's got a pet turtle. He's pretty calm. Has a nice silver eye.
There's a
I'm trying to go
criminal.
up with him.
There's a criminal. He might be swinging
Yeah,
for the other.
he technically didn't kill anybody
Yeah.
directly.
And also, there's the whole other part of this criminal where he's pitching for the other team, but we don't talk about that too much.
Whatever floats your boat. Not to mention the fixation on an island and a carb. That's another story entirely. And meanwhile, Sakura is having other nightmares and this is possibly Jack the Ripper, a murder weapon in his hand. And so she's not sure, is this the darkness in her heart taking hold? Is she getting too deep into criminality? And Sumio warned her, if you can't connect with the darkness inside your own mind, you can't understand the mind of a criminal. But how can you truly understand the mind of a criminal when sometimes criminals don't have reasons for doing anything? If it's just a senseless crime, then there's nothing to analyze. They just did it.
Yeah, they just got pissed off.
Perfectly. Yeah, sometimes people who aren't even angry, they just come in calm, collected. They planned it, they strategized it, they carried it out, and even the guy who did the shootings in Las Vegas, who fired into the concert, they couldn't find any reason whatsoever why he did it. He had no criminal history, no psychological background, just the very definition of a senseless crime.
Yeah, it's kind of the mindset of the silent ones are the ones who tend to snap.
So the scary thing is then, how can you investigate it? How can you solve those crimes? You can't.
Yep.
They just happen. You're always going to have the lunatic with clear psychological issues, but then you're going to have the people who have none whatsoever, and just one day decide they snap.
Yeah, I just got to shoot a guy.
They didn't snap.
Yeah, sometimes when they don't snap like that, they take it all on themselves, kind of mentality.
At least with street crime, those guys are already criminals. It was only in a matter of time. But when you have the perfectly reasonable, normal businessman like, say, Christian Bale in American Psycho, where does that come from?
Yeah.
What's behind that
Well,
mask? That's what you
We don't know
need
he
to be
did
afraid
anything
of.
bad, to be fair. If we're going by the movie.
True. We don't know, but what's scarier, the gangbanger who's been pushing drugs, who's always carrying a gun and always willing to pop off, or the guy who never carries a gun, who's rich and successful, and you never know, in private he might be carrying a switchblade and hiding bodies beneath his luxurious penthouse.
Or the briefcase is the weapon.
The silver case.
Just beat you over
Now
the head.
available on DVD. So yes, now he's talking to Kodai again, trying to get more insight to Jack the Ripper, which is very, very Silence of the Lambsy. And she's trying to analyze his mind to see if it'll help her hone in on the Ripper. You see, Sumio is very jaded here. Like, he starts saying that life is bullshit and you have no choice but to keep going. And he's like, that's what you believe, isn't it? Just like I used to. And, his darkness was within the Makumo forest. And, like, his light was there at the same time. But, like, kind of feels like he lost his light when their princess died, when the girl was torn apart by the mob. That was his light.
Yeah, and now he also got rid of his darkness, so now he's just in this moment of going like, what the fuck do I do now? Like, what am I? What is my deal now?
Doesn't really, though. It's like, when you have someone like that who lives only for revenge, and then you get your revenge, what then? You have nothing to live for. Your life's just empty. So you need to find something besides that. Like a briefcase and a computer, and you can name after a woman. So and he gives her that there's two choices. She can carry the darkness within herself and let it corrupt her, or you annihilate everything along with it. And he chose the latter. His friends supported him, and there we go. He was the mastermind. The friends backed him up.
Mm-hmm.
They blew up the entirety of the village of Makumo and wiped it all out.
Which, technically on that last bit, that was Kusabi who helped him out with that part. Kusabi was like, okay, we're doing this one last thing, and then you're off to jail.
And here's the picture from this chapter, and I did a double take. I couldn't believe this is Sumio, but yes, this is supposed to be Sumio. Who does he look like?
Nothing with a letter K I can think of.
It looks like Sumio. What are you
wow, I was
about?
like, I thought it was Kamui, and I'm like, no, this is Sumio. This is not the Sumio we knew.
Oh yeah, because he's just been in prison now, and like he's already letting shit just be ungroomed. He's not really keeping himself in check. He's just depressed, pretty much. Depressed, a lunatic. He is just now.
And when you're in prison, you realize that's all you have left, especially when you commit crimes like that. You have to realize that's your future. That's what you've resigned yourself to. You have to tell yourself, was that all worth it?
In a way, it's kind of like, well, he did accept that darkness. It kind of consumed him at the same time.
Another real world parallel: the dude who killed Kennedy, Sirhan, who killed Robert Kennedy, he had a parole hearing last week, and they denied it. And this dude's what, 80 years old? They're still not letting him out.
He's still alive?
He's still alive. Yeah, I saw it on the news. Sirhan, he is still alive. He had a parole hearing, and he was denied parole. You're 80 years old, and we're still not letting you out.
Holy shit.
The Kennedy thing's never going to go away. Either assassination.
Oh, yeah. Same, freaking Charles Manson is still alive. People interview him.
Holy shit.
He's probably going to die in there.
Yeah, Gavrilo Princip, the guy who shot Archduke Franz Ferdinand, died in prison. But he died in prison during the war. He got tuberculosis immediately and perished. Died in
Ah,
19.
yes. So here's some artwork we got. You can see what Sumio looks like now. There's the Minato, the happy-go-lucky doctor, and Chinami, the diner owner, and there's our poor Kana, who looks like she was just an easy target, sadly. Too trusting for the world.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't help Sumio when he's wearing all that white now too. He's just very much having the Kamui look.
Yeah, which I'm probably deliberate.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, I told Miyamoto, just draw Kamui.
Do it again.
That is she looks like Shinami looks like a nun. That is like the most modest outfit I've ever seen for someone who wasn't a nun. That's a woman who does not want to be bothered. And poor Kana, who wanted to be an idol.
Yeah.
And also, Sakura is going through her father's books.
Mm-hmm. A little
As
something.
if maybe she'll find the solution there. And then this feels like a silver case puzzle. Like she's looking through the books, trying to find a clue, and then the book opens up, and there's a missing music box mechanism.
The bookshelf has the puzzle from case 1.
Yeah, and you hear the little silver case jingle when she finds the item and the file appears on screen.
Like
she finds the file on the Shelter Kids.
Like, sort of like the red, blue, green. Someone could easily do, like, a quick impromptu visual novel of this.
Oh, yeah. They haven't made one out of this, have they? I thought they did, but I guess not.
They did not.
Yeah. Get the guys who did red, blue, green. Send them this. And you easily use, just use the diner from 25th Ward. Use the hospital. Use, use Morishima's apartment. It doesn't matter where it has to be.
Yeah. Heck, I was even going to say, you can use the diner from the end of Silver Case 1.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, maybe it's that diner. Good question.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. There was a lot of chocolate stuff there Kusabi talked about.
Yes.
But I think he said the owner was a man, though, in that place.
So, if so far you thought this story was surprisingly straightforward and easy to follow, nope. Here comes the politics. The Shelter Kids, the TRO, the CCO, all the politics.
It's pretty much like the Spaceballs moment. Like, you remember all this?
Everyone get that?
Yeah, everyone get that. That was the line, yeah.
So the Shelter Kids policy, they had their eyes on Kamui Uehara, they were following his behavior, and they were incorporated into the program given to the children. This reminds me of Street Fighter, where they're making Blanca, the movie Street Fighter, where they're making Blanca watch all the horrible criminal activity and all the murderers, and Nazis, and Bison looks at it and goes, children's programming. Why is he reacting so badly?
God,
and he calls it educational software.
God.
The perfect M. Bison. We didn't deserve him.
Oh, yeah, no one deserved that. No one deserved his skeleton.
It was merely Tuesday. So why does her father have all this stuff on the Shelter Kids project? What was he into? 1,000 children had been serially kidnapped nationwide. You'd think they would notice this.
That's kids. No one cares.
Well, I guess Tokyo does have a lot of kids. It's very problematic if you think about it.
And also
from what
if it was China, no one would definitely notice.
Sadly, you kind of get the impression from Japan, and I kind of got this vibe when I was there, that it has such an idealistic, picture-perfect society. You feel like when crime happens, it's not sensationalized like it is in America. Like, you're not going to see it blasted on the news and people yelling at it. It's going to be like very quietly mentioned as a sub-article.
Normal crimes. There seems to be an exception for serial killers. There's been some really media-grabbing ones in Japanese history.
It's true, but it's not going to be blown up like it is here. You're not going to see round-the-clock coverage. You're going to see probably little footnotes here and there, like, oh, we're still looking for the serial killer. Now, in other news, The cat cafe opened up in downtown Akihabara.
Yeah, it does kind of fit with the logic, like especially with some of the problems some people like, especially what I hear from people who moved to Japan to live there. They say the television kind of sucks there because it's a lot of reality TV and it's a lot of
Dude.
very overly positive stuff.
Yes, it's such an idealistic society. And as for anime, well, I hope you like staying up late. If you think you're going to be watching anime around the clock, boy, do I got some news for you.
Oh yeah, no, it's still an issue right now. You have a better chance catching a tokusatsu show because at least that's always in the morning.
Oh, you probably have an easier time watching anime on TV in America now because we got Pluto.
Yeah.
The channel dedicated to tokusatsu and anime.
Yeah.
We are not
Well, at least
I
sponsored
watch
by
Kamen
Pluto.
Rider every morning before I go to work. The 5:30 a.m. Pluto TV shows Kamen Rider and Ultraman. I have it on as background noise.
I repeat, we are not sponsored by these people, we swear.
I will
swear
be.
not.
I want to be sponsored. Damn it!
Yeah, if you're listening, Shout Factory or Koei or whoever owns Kamen Rider, send us some motorcycles. We will say we're sponsored by Kamen Rider brand motorcycles. Drive to
And-
work in style on your brand new Kamen Rider motorcycle.
and then die in the process.
Yeah, so you will totally not get in an accident on this 500cc motor vehicle. We swear.
I won't
Well,
break my
that's
leg.
forming cancels your momentum, so
Yeah, I won't break my leg doing a motorcycle stunt.
Not at all, unless you're wearing especially if you're wearing the Kamen Rider armor. Look like your favorite Masked Rider. You know, all the ladies.
at least you're wearing a helmet,
Yes, there is a helmet.
usually.
Yes, and you just show the guy walking to work dressed like Kamen Rider and taking off his helmet, and all the women swoon.
There's a
Is
second
that
helmet
Or
underneath.
Shiki-san? No, it's Kamen Rider.
That's definitely
Kamen
how it
Rider.
works.
At your local Walmart.
God.
So, and then Sakura is realizing something. Who said that to her again? The sweet-toothed doctor. He's not suspicious at all.
But again, he was just a nice man who loved his pie.
Yes. Then Kamui be Kamui? And then she learned about that he had killed a number of hospital personnel and escaped. Women he had been previously in relationships with, but his girlfriend, who was 21 years old at the time, had been helping him and murder the victims for him. And then an Ayame copy. Oh, by the way, they make an interesting note here that the name Ayame comes from the word Ayameru, which means to kill a person.
Oh,
Was that
interesting.
mentioned in the game?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Interesting little footnote there.
Also, then while we're on that, what does Kamui have a similar thing like that?
It's more like
What is the connotation of Kamui?
Okay,
Doesn't Kamui mean like light or something?
light or god, or yeah, something like that.
A
Like-
spiritual or divine being.
Well, yeah, it's an
Ainu
Ainu.
mythology, spiritual
Yeah.
energy in Ainu mythology. It's also apparently a thing in Naruto.
I mean, yeah.
What is Kamui in Naruto? It allows the user to transfer objects to another dimension.
Yeah, I remember.
So Kamui's
seeing
even
that.
Kamui no Jutsu. I never would have known that. I've never watched Naruto.
I saw one time looking up Kamui, and that's like one of the first things. It's sadly like one of the first things when you look up Jigen now these days. It's a Jigen character in like Boruto. I'm just like, oh, the name. It's like great. Now when I mention Jigen, people think I'm talking about Naruto. Great.
Oh yeah, try mentioning Sakura to a Naruto fan. What do you think their head's gonna go to?
Oh god, there's so many Sakuras out there.
No, actually, it's gonna go to Street
Yeah.
Fighter Alpha character.
So,
There's other things,
mixed
Sakura
in with her-
Wars.
So now she's fretting over what to do. Apparently, she's the only person who's got an idea what's going on, and she's not even a cop yet. So Sakura is a better investigator than people who are actual investigators, which happens a lot. I see it in Dispatch. I feel like I've pieced together crimes that the actual police couldn't figure out. But it's all in priorities, sadly.
Yeah.
Like
Sometimes
one time I had 2 calls. I've had 2 calls with people robbing different locations, and I realize they're the same people, and I'm all excited, but it's a theft. That's in the grand scheme of things. People aren't going to go running their heads off to go after someone who stole some tools, but you kill somebody, that's a big deal. But in Japan, especially in the 24th Ward, well, he's only killed a couple 22-year-olds. We got to worry about these guys blowing up corporation buildings. That's a big deal. Can't mess with the corporations now, can you? Which makes you think maybe that's why Sumio got the books thrown in. It wasn't for killing the people. It's because they blew up that building. Messing with the almighty dollar now. Think about how much money was in holdings in that company.
God, imagine the whole money and just all the reconstruction, the cleanup.
Not to mention the stock market. Millions were probably lost in the stock market from all the holdings that company was involved in.
Oh yeah, that's kind of a really good thing to bring up because Japan in the 90s, that was not a good time. Because the 80s in Japan was they were living it large in the 80s, and then the 90s came and slapped them in the face.
Yes. By the way, if you've ever heard of a show called Terror in Residence, I believe it's a very interesting anime about, and I'm surprised they got away with this. It's about a group of terrorists who go around blowing up buildings. This came out not long after 9/11.
Oof.
And you want to see something really controversial? I'm going to post an image of it.
Ooh,
Take a look at the building in the background.
Oh no.
Oh, yes. That took balls.
Oh my god.
Meanwhile, we just have these clean-cut anime characters.
Yes, it's a mini series. I think it was like 6 episodes. And they're like trying to make a difference in society and trying to send a message. I only remember bits and pieces. It wasn't a very memorable show apart from the hook. Like, it's one of those things that has a cool idea but doesn't really stick the landing. Like, okay, you got this idea, but you don't really know what you want to do with it. It's kind of like that.
Giving me very Eden of the East vibes.
Yeah, it's very similar to Eden of the East. They're very low-key characters. It's kind of like a day in the life of these guys. They're not, because I think the thing that throws the police off is they're looking for professionals, and they're not. They're just a bunch of kids who are screwing around, but they keep going under the radar because no one thinks it would be them. They know how to blend in. They're so amateur that it's making them professional by accident. They kind of fall upward. So yes, Sakura is already. Apparently, all this has been going on as part of Sakura's like coursework, because she has all this detail on criminals. She's turning into an instructor. So like, apparently, her instructor is letting her interview killers, which is interesting. But maybe that's how Japanese crime works. You kind of see in Yakuza when people are these young, spunky, would-be police officers get to do all kinds of cool stuff. They wouldn't let us do that in America.
Also, she's particularly talking to Sumio, which I mean, Sumio did go through all the stuff himself.
Yeah, they're letting her go right to the source. So she's thinking So she's talking about Nakatagawa, who she openly describes as a creep, and she sees Tetsuguro Kusabi, who's apparently she sees her father in him, which doesn't surprise me because there are a lot of similarities there. And maybe she figures that if she talks to him, she can get more insight to what's going on. And then apparently she runs into Minato again. Gee, this is getting weird. And he says he'd like to see her face. And she was like, he's becoming a little stalkerish. Kind of?
No. Again, just no knives yet. No knives.
And so she's heading to the 24th precinct. Apparently, she wants to speak with Kusabi. And Minato is there with her, which is Kind of weird, because if Minato's as suspicious as we're all thinking he is, why would he be walking right into the HCU?
Hide in plain sight, I guess, is the logic.
Oh yeah, the killer wouldn't walk right into the police building, would he?
Also, kind of
this is an interesting picture. Is this supposed to be Kamui?
picture.
I will share it.
Which one?
It's not really. I will. Let me see.
Is it the guy holding a knife?
I'm going to tag it as a spoiler because it's not explicit, but it is a naked character.
Okay, no. I think that's supposed to be the doctor. I think it's supposed to be him.
Yeah, that does kind of look like him.
Oh,
Like you're
it's
seeing behind the veil.
Because this is during the time
Is
where
that
it's like...
supposed to be Kamui?
I think it's supposed
We'll
to give
get there.
off that vibe.
We'll get there.
But it's definitely just the doctor. He's because, well... Shocker!
And see, pretty much, he admits to it flat out. He's like, "You're a Kamui copy, aren't you?" He's like, "Yeah." "And you're an Ayame, right?" And he's like, "Oh, they were all wrong. They didn't know about the dark place, and they couldn't save me, so they died." He talks about it like he was just falling off a log.
Yeah.
And
Essentially, he was just
so
trying
she
to find
finally figures it out.
something.
Yeah,
Like,
and
if
he
he
doesn't care that she's figured it out. And he says that since she's Ayame, he wants her to oppose him. They're supposed to save the Kamuis, which I'm not sure how that works. Maybe they're supposed to cancel them out?
The whole quote-unquote save logic. It kind of sounds like to me for him, it sounded like he knew he was going insane because of the Kamui part, but he still had a moment where he's like, I can find someone who can kill me and it can just end.
Yes. He's been going after women who he thinks are Ayame.
And then they weren't, so slice.
And then finally, right when he's about, all of a sudden, he cuts himself.
Yeah, there's a moment he like
cuts
cuts.
his arm open.
Yeah, he starts going crazy at first. He gets even Sakura hostage at one point, I think.
Yeah, like you think he's gonna try to kill Sakura. He's got his knife to her throat. Then he just withdraws and cuts himself instead.
But also, we also gotta mention someone else pops up here. Our great guy, not the Tagawa again.
Saves Nakatagawa to the rescue. Not.
Yeah, not really. He did nothing. He just really taunted the guy. Is all he did.
Yeah. Nakatagawa is literally Tuxedo Mask in that meme. My work here is done, but you didn't do anything. And he's just going.
I'm going back to see some. I'm going back to see some girl on her webcam.
Okay, thanks for nothing, prick. This is pretty much what Sakura is thinking, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, mostly she's more thinking about the guy who killed himself right in front of her.
So apparently, she got beat up pretty bad, and she mentions that she's got all these bruises and injuries, and her clothes covered in blood. So, hey, welcome to the darkness.
Yep. Not the way you probably wanted to come to it, but you're in it now. You understand
and
the killer.
Nakatagawa shows up to escort her, which is knight in shining armor, I'm sure every woman looks forward to. And then she gets summoned for questioning, goes back to the 24th precinct. So is this the character from the hospital that did all this crap?
Yeah.
Is that
like,
yeah.
are we saying from the actual silver case, or?
Yeah, the one from the first chapter that interviews more when Tetsu and Sumio talk to him. They're sitting over on the bench. He says, "Tetsu, Kamui's going to make a move." That scene.
Yeah, that would be funny if it is. I'm gonna look into that.
I mean, technically, it's a non-character, and she probably said, "Hey, can I make the guy into a killer?" Sure, why not? If you think about it, it might tie into Decoy Man. Maybe he was helping Ayame doing the killings in Decoy Man. Maybe he was an accomplice. Maybe they were women that he went after and wasn't interested in, so he handed them over to Ayame. Like, yeah, she couldn't help me. You can have them. I don't need them. They're not Ayame. So yes, and Sakura burned all her data away. All the investigating she did was for naught. Except except for the disc from her father. She couldn't bring herself to destroy it.
Oh my god. It is fucking.
What's that?
It is him.
So
Wow.
it is.
Yeah, that's the same. I can
Yeah.
tell by the hair.
Yeah, look at the suit and jacket.
Holy shit!
Yeah, look at the collar. It's him. Look at the collar and the tie.
Just some
Pink collar
random
and the brown
dude.
tie.
Literally at the beginning of Decoy Man.
It's like she went through the game with a fine-tooth comb. It was like, what character can I make Oh, I'll use the Doctor. He's only in the first chapter. It'll be fine. And Suda's like, I didn't even give him a name, so whatever. Go nuts. And Suda's type of dude, like, even if he is important, like, I can picture him like putting him in 25th Ward, like, that girl used him in the book. Oh, really? Shit. Whatever. Put him in anyway. We'll figure it out. And then, but she goes back to the bathroom and she sees the wounds in the mirror, but she says she's okay. She can manage. She won't break. Sakura's become toughened. And then in the end, she goes back to talk to Sumio Kodai, their third meeting. She's found her darkness. But she had to tell a pack of lies to her instructor to get permission to talk to Sumio again. And he knew a woman named Ayame. What's that?
I was gonna say, hey, I mean, that's kind of stepped into darkness there, doing some bullshit to get what you want.
Mm-hmm. And so they mention the story of Pandora's box, and that even with all the darkness gone, there's still a glimmer of hope. Of course, Sumio knows about that, but he didn't care to mention it. He knew she'd find out the ending of the story on her own. But she still has the nightmares sometimes.
But yeah, now she can face those nightmares better.
And then, at the very end, she says she'll be going, and Sumio says, I don't expect we'll ever see each other again. And then she shows up at the HCU. She's assigned starting today. Her name is Sakura Natsume. If only Sumio was right.
Yeah, that is funny how they pretty much these two characters kind of become synonymous then for a lot of the fans then. The 25th
It kind of makes you wonder, maybe this book was really popular because maybe Suda latched on and was like, hey, this is good stuff I can use for 25th Ward, because that's some of the most interesting stuff in 25th Ward or in Whiteout is like the stuff between Sakura and Sumio. They make a cool little odd couple, so to speak.
Yeah, and I really do, in this book, I definitely do enjoy the idea that the Kamui spreading, but it's not an instantaneous thing. Like, people can fight it, they just don't know how to then. And for this guy, it was a case of going like, I can die. I don't have to kill anyone yet. I just need to find that person, and then he really just wasn't lucky in the end.
Yeah, it's it's really interesting.
To the end of the case. Has everybody here read the book? I think a couple of. I know.
I've
Johnny
read
hasn't
it like.
Did you read it?
I think I read it like almost a year ago now.
Infinite. I think you read it.
Yeah, I read it like right after I finished the Silver Case.
And I read it this week. This week.
Okay. So the other person who hasn't read it is Johnny. He's probably confused as all hell right now.
A little bit.
Do you think we summarized it effectively?
I've been trying to avoid spoilers, so whenever you've talked about the plot, I've intentionally toned out. This has been a very interesting experience.
Short story long. Spunky woman tries to become investigator, encounters darkness, becomes investigator. Good job, Sakura.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, Did we get any theories? That I remember someone mentioned that we were going to discuss some theories. Did we get anything like that?
I don't think so.
Nope. So no, we didn't get anything.
Are there any like popular ones we can think off the top of our head though?
I think a lot of
feel
the
like-
more crackpot theories during FSR.
Yeah, it's really Silver Case is a little more straightforward. The only really ambiguous thing is literally at the end of Life Cut with the weird guy in the chair.
Yeah.
Part.
25th Ward. 25th Ward is full of crazy stuff. Oh, God.
Yeah,
There was a certain point I gave up trying to make sense of it. I'm just like, I treated it like Twin Peaks. I'm just going to keep reading the text and see if I can figure it out as I go. Because any attempt to sit and make sense just makes my head hurt.
Especially when we get to the actual best character. Mr.
In fact, I think I remember the exact moment 25th Ward went off a cliff and I had no idea what the fuck was going on. When Shirayabu goes crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not that stuff before that made like a lot of sense.
Well, I mean, it was fairly straightforward. They're investigating stuff. There's some weird stuff
Yeah,
going
but
on,
the whole GLG thing.
Like, come
Matchmakers. Correctness. Correctness is the really straightforward one. Correctness is probably. Actually, I'm gonna probably make something controversial here. I think Correctness is the best story in 25th Ward.
I mean, everyone has their own story. For me, it's Matchmaker, honestly, because I really do love Osato.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, Matchmaker.
Yeah, it was confused. Like, how is Correctness straightforward? It's a mess.
Weird one. I got mixed up. Correctness is the weird one. Matchmaker's the good stuff.
Yeah. Hey, I'll say this. Kuromisawa, I know people nowadays like to meme the hell out of him. I used to actually enjoy his character.
Oh no, he's actually really cool and intimidating. Like, shows up.
Matchmaker is really, the music in Matchmaker is incredible. I love the Matchmaker song.
Yeah, the music's really good.
Suki's just a really fun character.
Yeah, they're great characters, which 25th Ward spoilers, yeah. Doesn't go too well for them.
I think Matchmaker is more of a breather from the whole placebo and correctness.
Yeah, correctness is just a roller. Correctness is very much Suda off the frickin' rails. Like, he was just writing for a mobile. I don't know how much of it was in the mobile game, but it felt like he was just going hog wild when he was writing.
Yeah, I think for me, Matchmaker, so like you can get a breather and enjoy like a nice normal story.
Matchmaker had a different writer too, right? Matchmaker wasn't written by Suda.
Yeah, it's another writer. It's another writer. It's not the same one as Placebo, but it's another guy.
Yeah, the guy came back. The guy from Placebo came back. Suda did Correctness, and someone else did Matchmaker. So there's 3 writers on 25th Ward, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and Suda, 3 artists.
And Suda particularly talked about the author of Matchmaker, saying he doesn't have contact with him anymore.
That's a shame.
What is that? Maybe that's why Matchmaker is so self-contained, because he knew he was doing a one-and-done story.
Maybe. Or just
Matchmaker is pretty decisive.
Or again, it simply was just a matter of it just lost like as I said, just lost contact, and now they just can't do it again.
But hey, it's lightning in a bottle, It happens.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised Suda has not even tried to even mention those other characters, like Suki or Sato, ever again.
Well, but I guess Suda's always struck me as type of guy where, like, he seems to be very protective of other people's work. Like, he doesn't like to step on other people's toes. And I respect that.
Yeah.
Like, unlike Atlas, where Atlas are pretty much just pissing all over the history of SMT lately. They don't really give a damn. They're just doing their own. They've even taken Kaneko off the credits in 5. Suda, on the other hand, is like, yeah, those aren't my characters. That was written by them, so I don't feel right using those characters out of respect for him. That's the vibe I get.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot respectful, but in some part, it's a shame because I really want to see Itsuki again.
But at the same time, sometimes it can be a blessing in disguise.
You know who would be a good author to take on a third scenario if they make the next game. Because I'm sure Ooka is going to come back for Placebo. That's pretty much a given.
Yeah,
Did Placebo
came back for
did
Batman.
yeah, did Ooka write Yuki, the best chapter in 25th Ward, or was that Suda?
Yuki,
actually
I
don't
think it's
know.
him. I think it's Oka, I think.
Okay. I love Yuki. And I remember Suda mentioned in that AMA that Yuki would come back, or he gave a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So hopefully. Feeling that if they do a new Placebo, it'll be Yuki. Yuki will be taking over from Morishima, and he'll just be like a mentor figure.
I always thought
just
that
around
like,
being
the whole
immortal.
Yuki thing was supposed to be its own game, its own shtick, you know?
Oh yeah, like I could see Yuki being like an occult and like Yuki would be like Shadows of the Damned, but with like less gunplay and more investigation. Like, have you ever played Trauma Team? When you know the missions where you're doing the CSI investigation? To me, that would be the Yuki game. You're investigating crime scenes.
Is Trauma Team
You
the
talk with
Wii
the dead,
game
try to
where
find
you
them.
were
Yeah, Trauma Team's the Wii game where you have the paramedic, the chiropractor, the surgeon, the diagnostician, and you have the crime scene girl.
I think I played it. I'm not sure if I'm mistaken for another Doctor.
Well,
sort of
it's a full
game.
series. There's a few games.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
lot
but
of that.
about surgery.
Yeah, did it start with surgery and stuff like that?
Yeah, the first two games in the series where you just play as surgeons, but Trauma Team is when they decided to branch out, and you have one character who just does CSI investigation. And I posted a picture, like, and she can like hear the voices of the dead. She doesn't literally commune with them, but she'll get like a feeling like, oh, there's something off about this bed, like nudging her in that direction.
And again,
So,
to
like,
be
I
honest,
posted, yeah.
like the more I hear about this, I'm just thinking about that Hotel Barcelona project.
Oh yeah, I hope something comes of that.
Like, I think that could be just where Yuki's got to be in, to be honest. It just sounds like a perfect
And
environment for her.
And as you see, Naomi will try to make conclusions from examining the crime scene. You know, what did this cause? And if you pick the wrong suspect, no, that's not right. Think, yes, that's it. Like, you can't really be wrong. And if you run out of incorrect choices, you just start over. But this would be my dream Yuki game. Is those two pictures, just investigation with occasional, a lot of visual novel stuff. So yeah, but here, what I was thinking is if they can't get the guy who wrote Matchmaker back, I'm assuming it's the guy, have the author who did Face give her own scenario. That could be interesting. I could see it.
Wait, the author who did what? I didn't get that.
Face. Who wrote Face. 4.5.
Oh! Does he have
Give her
contact with... Does Suda still have contact with her?
or some company does. Apparently she's in everybody's Rolodex for fan fiction, so she can't be that hard to get in touch with.
Like, I remember, like, him saying something in the AMA about that. Because someone asked about if he ever wanted to release a full translation, official translation of Face. But
Yeah.
I don't remember
I
what he
kinda-
exactly said. Like, let me check it out. Do you have the link to the MAA?
I can see if I can find it, but in hindsight, that would have been a good question. Like, would you consider letting the author of Face write her own chapter in a future Silver Case game?
And again, seeing how she doesn't do anything anymore, it's probably a case they probably have no contact anymore.
So I remember this was a great thing from the AMA. It doesn't have a link to it, but someone asked him about the 50,000 yen, and he said, would he lend Kusabi 50,000 yen? And Suda said, no, you will not get back your money.
Yeah. Do not trust Kusabe.
Well, I think we all knew that.
Oh, yeah. He's just got to waste
Kusabe?
money in that cafe.
Yeah. Kusabi's a good guy, but not a good lender. I found it. Here it is. I found it, and that was the comment when he answered my question. Specifically, oh yeah, you'll see. Click the link and you'll see his answer about Yuki. I asked him about Yuki. I'll quote it if you don't feel like
do you play in? Oh, yeah.
I don't know if he was just taking the piss, so to speak, or was he like really meaning it?
Yeah, I'm searching for the.
He's a lot of things. Like, is he already developing it? Is he already planning it? Does he have someone else doing it, or is he just screwing with us? Was
Yeah, who
Yuki in No
knows?
More Heroes 3? Was she one of the aliens?
No.
We've already
Definitely
killed her. Right. Yuki is
But,
actually Travis's daughter.
Oh, God. Okay, Mr. Tin Hat.
She changed her name to Yuki to avoid being associated with her otaku father. And that's why she's roaming the subways of the 25th Ward to avoid Travis and Sylvia.
But she can't avoid coffee
Thank you,
stripes
thank you.
again.
And now she sees dead people. Hello, Travis?
Can't find it.
Yeah.
I remember you said something about the novel though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Or
know if
maybe I
anyone
just
archived
got
it.
confused.
Other than that, I think we can kind of call it a day there. Surprisingly, took a lot of time on this, more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can call it on that. We've managed to get a lot of good discussion out of this crazy little book.
Yeah. Especially the whole
So,
psyche of a criminal, the whole psyche of even cops and crime
yeah, real world
fighters.
parallels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all you kids out there who want to become crime scene investigators, just go and interrogate some masterminds, I guess. Just be careful of walking through hospitals and be wary of doctors who like sweets.
Particularly
Yeah,
pies.
so our next episode is going to be hella ambitious. We're going to be doing kind of a running commentary on Killer 7. Since there's so much in the game, we're sure we're going to forget things. So the only way to make sure we address all of it is to talk about it while we play it.
Yep. Some of us will just be watching, of course, but
We'll do like a running commentary. So if you ever watch the director's commentary, it'll be like that, but with less organization. So yeah, this has been CJ Wakura.
this
has
You
been Infinite.
This has been KamenSentai. For a quick plug, I just recently did a recent blog post for Introduction to Tokusatsu for Suda51 fans. The first show recommendation being Kamen Rider Kuga. So there is that. And oddly enough, I did particularly focus on Silver Case in particular.
Nice.
And
on a related note, as I mentioned, Pluto TV does have a dedicated Tokusatsu channel. So if you're at all curious about this stuff, and I swear I don't work for Pluto, go check it out.
Yes, Kuga's actually one of the shows they have, too.
And it's very good translations. I glanced at a few episodes. They did a really good job translating it.
Like, if you like the cop drama in Silver Case, you'll like the cop drama in Kuga. Like, Kuga is pretty much just a cop drama disguised as a superhero show.
With explosions. Rubber masks. I'm sorry, Quill was about to chime in.
yeah, and I was gonna say just that this has been cool. That's all.
And our resident hotel manager, who we hopefully didn't spoil on 4.5.
Giving you service with a smile.
Yes, until his subordinate takes over, literally over his dead body. We were talking about that in the last chapter of Flower, Sun, and Rain when Sue, like after Edo falls over, Sue just steps over his body and takes over the hotel. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the boss now. Deal with it."
Line of succession. It happens.
Yeah, so beware of Sue if you know anyone.
Will do.
All right, so we'll see you next time for our Killer 7 extravaganza. Don't make me say it again.
Right.
Cleaner.
See you, everyone.